Guns in America, the right to bear arms. The Second Amendment may be the most controversial amendment in the Bill of Rights. To understand it, we must go back in history. The early Americans had more difficult and dangerous lives than most of us have today. They had to hunt for food and protect themselves from wild animals. There were no police to protect them, so they needed guns for their own defense. There were also conflicts between the settlers and the British Army. Because of these dangers, each colony maintained its own army of citizens, called a militia, to protect its residents. The men who wrote the Constitution wanted to be sure the Americans would always be able to protect themselves in this way, so they included the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights. Unfortunately, the meaning of the amendment is not clear, and people interpret it in different ways. This is a paraphrase of what it says. The government should not interfere with the people's right to keep and carry guns because a militia is important for security. Because the wording is not clear, there are two possible, very different interpretations. The first one is narrow, and the second one is broad. The first interpretation: communities should be permitted to maintain militias, and these militias should carry guns. Today, militias would be the police or the military. Interpretation number two: anyone should be able to own and carry guns. The government must not interfere with this right. I'm moving the page so I can read the next page. The majority of the American population believes that the Second Amendment, or the second interpretation, I should say, is correct. Between 70 and 80 million Americans own a gun. There are about 300 million firearms in U.S. homes. Laws about owning guns are not the same everywhere. Some states and cities allow people to keep a gun in their homes. Others also allow people to carry guns in public places, such as in the street or in a store. Some communities permit some types of guns, but prohibit other types. Gun ownership is an emotional issue in the United States. Some people believe that gun ownership is a fundamental right. Others believe that only the police and the military should carry guns. Every time someone with a gun kills a lot of people, there is a public discussion about this issue. In 2012, when a young man in Colorado shot and killed 12 people and wounded 58 others in a crowded movie theater, supporters of gun control argued for laws against gun ownership. However, people opposed to gun control replied that if other people in the theater were carrying guns, they would have stopped the young man. People on both sides of this issue offer arguments for their views. And then below we have some arguments against gun control, and we have some arguments for gun control. So please read these arguments for and against carefully.